Hello everyone, and welcome back to another Mortal Kombat video. Today, with us all still coming off the spectacular hype of the Umgadi trailer, a lot was really revealed here in terms of story, narrative, and plot that I will be breaking down for you all today, as the trailer itself does confirm a lot of suspicions I had about particular characters, especially in this new world and era it all does take place in, as the trailer is set in what looks to be a very new and very different hybridized version of Outworld and Edenia. But in order for us to understand this world, I'll first be breaking down the recently released character bio for Tanya, Li Mei, and Baraka, just so we understand each character's story, and then reference it back to the trailer to paint a more full picture, as it is very much so focused on the new Umgadi faction. And of course, to wrap it up, I will be touching on the remaining narrative bits and how each character influences it, as it seems like Li Mei could be playing a very pivotal part in assisting Liu Kang in his quest. Now, just before we do begin, I do want to say thank you for all of the love and support on that last breakdown video. It was amazing, so if we could show the same love here, I would super duper appreciate it. You guys know what to do. Anywho, without any more faffing, let's just get right to it. Now, evidently, one of the big main focuses of this trailer is around the new and mysterious faction, the Umgadi, somewhat similar to Marvel's own Dora Milaje. The Umgadi look to be a female-only elite guard, designated with protecting the royal Outworld line, wearing a white and yellow uniform to distinguish them from the rest of Outworld's forces, something I will be touching on later. Now, being part of the Umgadi looks to be a very respected role, as it is only the first daughters of each family that are eligible to be chosen, although there would be minor exceptions to this rule. They would train rigorously and take vows upon ascending to their role. Also, a really fun fact about the word Umgadi is that it actually translates in Zulu to that of guardian, clearly showing where this influence and idea does derive from. But with that said, who is it that actually leads them? Well, that would be Tanya, having presumably taken over Li Mei's role, as she failed to protect the royal line. So Tanya's bio does say the following: chosen as an infant from Outworld's firstborn daughters, Tanya was raised by the Umgadi priestesses. She's never known her birth family. As she grew older and saw other initiates wash out, Tanya feared that she would share their fate. But that fear spurred success. After many attempts, Tanya passed her trials and became a full Umgadi. Over time, Tanya became one of the Order's most trusted members. She was the obvious choice when it came to choosing a new leader for the royal family's personal guard. As an Umgadi, Tanya is sworn to piety and chastity. That is why her bond with Princess Melina, were it known, would cause a scandal. By following her heart, Tanya risks not only her position, but also her life. So Tanya here, in this new era, looks to be a very different version of her original conception, because back in the first timeline, she was of course branded as the Edenian traitor. Here, on the other hand, not only does she lean into her reboot counterparts, but instead fully embrace that idea of thriving in Edenia, so much so that she's a personal royal guard to the Edenian princesses. Which in many ways is actually kind of ironic, as this role originally was more so tailored to that of Jade in older continuities, and the two also had a rivalry. So to see those roles kind of switched is definitely quite an interesting change. Now, despite her strict role as leader of this elite royal guard, it also looks like they are now canonizing the relationship between Tanya and Melina. Whilst not explicitly explored in the trailer, the seeds are definitely planted here and now confirmed via their bio, but it does seem to be a bit of a taboo secret. point, as her position as Umgadi probably puts her in direct conflict with tradition. Regardless, I think we do get a bit of a rough idea of how deep their relationship is, because Tanya looks to be the only other person that Melina has told about her Tarkat disease.
For you to hold the throne, we must keep your secret.
This then brings us up to her relationship with Li Mei, and it seems to be an extremely bitter one, with Tanya being extremely confrontational with her, understandably not trusting her, considering why she relinquished her position. So from this dialogue, and the tension that's clearly here, there's maybe the possibility that this role of leader was thrust upon her because of Li Mei's departure, putting her secret relationship with Melina in jeopardy. Also, whilst maybe a nothing point, I do want to touch on the interesting design decision of giving her a halo and multiple hands, as this could very well be influenced by the Hindu god Shiva, as the 5 gestures of the god are associated with creation, protection, destruction, embodiment, and release. I could be looking at this a tad bit too deep, but I definitely see some similarities here. I'm not too familiar with Hinduism, so maybe some of you down in the comments below could chime in on what I'm touching on. Now moving on to Li Mei, things look to be very interesting for this new version of the character, as it takes the framework of her original conception, protecting those who can't fend for themselves, in a really big way. 1, as a former member of the Umgadi, and 2, as a constable of Outworld. As her bio does say the following: as her parents' firstborn daughter, Li Mei was claimed by the Umgadi, the warrior priestesses who guard Outworld's royal family. Li Mei's service began with high expectations. Her early success caught the eye of the royal family, but it all fell apart when a terrible tragedy unfolded. Li Mei was blamed for this, and in the aftermath, she did the unthinkable. She quit the Umgadi. Friendless and alone, Li Mei needed a new purpose. She joined Sun Do's constables, the Outworld's capital rough and tumble police force. Over time, she became their first constable. Li Mei is glad to be the capital guardian. Still, she hopes one day to redeem herself. So yeah, a lot, and I mean a lot to unpack here from just this paragraph alone. And whilst it danced around it in her bio as to who she failed to protect, the trailer itself is the one that more or less confirms who had fallen: King Jared. This in turn would lead to her leaving, but still embodying those values.
It was on her watch that the princess's father was murdered.
Priestesses, in my heart, I am still Umgadi.
Now, just before we push a bit deeper into this video, let's talk about what this both confirms and implies. One is, of course, the widowed Sindel, who we already know exists in this timeline, having been name dropped in Rain's original bio. 2, that the royal line is being targeted by an unforeseen force, which does make me look at General Shao and his ties to Rain. And 3, that it looks like the Edenian Outworld War never actually came to be, so Edenians and Outworlders could very well be one in the same, or that this could take place before an inevitable split, as we see Outworld have 2 different militant factions, the Umgadi and those clad in more traditional Outworld armor, one's marked with the Dragon King's crest, presumably all controlled by General Shao. But back on the topic of Li Mei, it looks like upon her fall from grace, she would return back to a home of Sun Dao, disgraced by the shame on her name, but still wanting to protect the innocent. She takes on a police force role, maybe as some kind of way to redeem herself in the eyes of the royal family. Because in the trailer, it's extremely clear that she wishes to clear her own name.
I will prevail, Earthrealmer. This fight is more important to me than you can ever know.
So this could actually be why she is aligned with Liu Kang here, to rid herself of the guilt and seek redemption by helping the family she failed. Also, cool bits of attention to detail here, the pink beast that we see her conjure is actually known as a Chinese guardian lion, typically symbolizing prosperity, success, and guardianship, which really does make sense for this character. And to further cement that idea is that if this lion is indeed made of jade, something quite common with guardian lions, with it being the color pink, it's also linked to love and harmony, things that this character really does embody. Next, we do have Baraka here, and my god, did they do a great job of repackaging this character, as his bio does say the following. Baraka was once a respected Outworld merchant, but that life ended in an instant when he contracted the dreaded Tarkat plague. Incurable, contagious, and the cause of several physical deformities, Tarkat turned Baraka into a monster. He was cast out and doomed to live out his days in a colony of similarly afflicted Outworlders. When Baraka first arrived, the colony was in disarray. His fellow Tarkatans had given up and were ready to die. Their hopelessness lit a fire in Baraka's heart. He spares no effort to better his fellow Tarkatans' lives. He knows that as long as he fights, he will never truly be a victim. Okay, I gotta be real with you. I'm not a Baraka fan, but these changes make me wanna be a Baraka fan. Whilst I was initially quite hesitant about this change, in motion, this looks to be an extremely beneficial alteration, especially for his character, as it paints Baraka and those inflicted by the disease as tragic monsters, being hidden away from the public eye to the depths of Outworld to cull the disease. So it looks like even without Shao as Emperor, Outworlders continue to struggle and suffer. I also again find a sense of irony in all of this, because before this, Baraka was kind of a nobody, but it is his infliction that would make him become somebody, a freedom fighter to his own people. But even so, under the subjugation of these guards, they look to be sampling his blood. And if I'm going to theorize here, I believe that it's his blood they are poisoning Melina with, as we see the infliction of her disease appear at a dinner table where she's sitting right next to Rain, someone associated with Shao, and we know there is a traitor amongst the Edenian High Table. So I believe that her metamorphosis will be a slow one, but one that eventually happens. And I mean, hey man, they're even drinking wine, which is the same color as blood here. It also looks like Baraka will not be on the best terms with Liu Kang, as they are yet to find a cure for the Tarkat disease.
Maybe they'll find a cure.
If he could have helped, he would have done so by now.
In context with the rest of this, as I believe he's talking to Kenshi, it does look like at some point we may have to hunt down a cure for Melina that will probably end up being in vain, because when we see her be strapped to a table, we can also see that Kenshi still retains his eyesight. So Melina may actually be the one to take it here. Now, there's not really too much else I was able to pull away from this trailer, but here are some tidbits I was able to pick up on, with us of course having the surprise feature of Chameleon that I straight up did not expect, possibly implying that Zarterra exists here, free of any Empire's clutches, maybe possibly confirming that Riptile could be a playable character on the roster, especially seeing as he wasn't that in Mortal Kombat 11. Now on the gameplay front, we do of course have 2 confirmed cameo characters with Darius and Goro, and we also have 4 new stages here. One which looks to be in an Outworld garden, I'm guessing near the Royal Palace, the slums of Outworld, which looks to be where those that are afflicted by Tarkat are essentially sent and left to die. An underground sanctum that looks to be a study, probably to cure the Tarkat disease, because once we move to the left side of the screen, we can see the chair where Melina lies down. And our final stage here, it snuck away pretty damn well, is during Li Mei's fatality, as it looks to be tucked next to a shore. We don't get a really good look at the background here, but the ground itself does look like sand. So with that said everyone, that is everything I was able to pick up from this trailer. It's very detailed, very layered, and clearly there's a lot I wanted to touch on. So hopefully this gives you a better idea of what not just to expect from these characters, but the overarching plot as a whole, as things only seem to get thicker as we go from trailer to trailer here. So I do hope you have enjoyed this, and if you did pick up on anything I missed out, please do comments down below. But for now everyone, that has been it for me. So as always, stay strong, stay well, and keep on fighting. Take care everyone, I'll see you all soon.